Please be aware that the podcast you are about to listen to is intended for mature audiences. It takes on topics such as mental illness, violence, abandonment, trauma, and, in general, the end of the world as we know it. Please take care of yourself as you continue to enjoy our episodes. Take breaks as you need to. Welcome back to Windy City Demons, a 12 Inner Demons actual play, podcast, and mental health discussion. This is episode 4. It is a little bit different. It will be our discussion of our past 3 episodes and what's happened in the game up until now.
So I wanted to make sure that I gave us some time to check in and unpack this first session before we wrap up today. So how is everyone feeling? How's everyone feeling about the system and the story and the mental health topics that have come up today? So you don't have to do it all at once, but let's just go ahead and first check in with how's everyone feeling? Take a deep breath.
I'm excited. This was definitely interesting. I don't really know how to properly word it, so
just a lot of parallels in AI's unwillingness to go this route of just why do you want me to do this? I feel like I have that conversation with my therapist once a week.
That's that's funny. I just am realizing is this demon the therapist? Like what? As you said that, I'm like, is that the anyway? Yeah, I think I'm excited too. It's definitely interesting and sort of unrelated. I was like, when we took our break, I was talking to my platonic partner and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that we have to role play in a role playing game.
yeah.
It's both one of the most fun things and also I think one of the things that people find most intimidating about games, but then in the moment most freeing. God, my Sioux accent was all over the place. I could not figure out what range Sioux was gonna be. And it started off like New York, and then it went southern, and then it went wonky, and then it wrapped back around on itself.
Yo, Sublime though. Sublime.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That was good.
I had to write that one down. I had to put that one in the notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sublime.
She's like the drag queen den mom.
Okay, so would I call her mama every once in a while?
Possibly. Yeah, she's the backstage, motherly type, and you're like the front of the house motherly type.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oof. It's wild how fast the intensity of the escalations
Right.
already. How many? There've already been 3 fear tests or something.
2. Also,
2?
please, I forgot to tell you, I was looking over the things, so, we're all still new to it, so I'm going to forget stuff. When you pass a fear test, you also get both 1 XP and a bonus die on your next roll when dealing with fear.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the way this game works, Saphira, whenever one of the human players fails a fear test, you gain an XP. but so do any other demons in the scene.
Okay. Oof. Did anyone
Yeah.
fail one?
No one failed one
Okay.
yet. The failed rolls were not fear tests. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the poor internet.
I know. For a minute, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna fall off this
Right.
ladder. I'm gonna break open my head and be useless for like 3 days and totally fuck it up.
okay, so I would not. So I wouldn't. So there was sabotage going down with that.
Okay.
Like meant to slow you down.
Mm.
So, but that's not the sort of thing where you would have been taken out for days on end, especially because we're such a small party.
Right.
So that there's enough. I feel like this game is like fast paced and angsty enough as is without taking an already like 3-player party down to 2.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then really, yeah, I got
Ooh.
you. I didn't think.
Speaking of angst,
Uh-huh.
angst. There's so much angst already.
Yeah. We're like a 15-year-old fan fiction.
Which is wild because like my character's 30.
Yeah, my character's like 29. But hey, aren't we all a little angsty every now and
We're
again?
still angsty.
Just
I mean,
even as adults.
Yeah, I'm 32 in real life, and I'm
Super.
probably more angsty than I've ever
Right.
been.
Sometimes you just gotta crank up the Linkin Park and the MCR and get all those feelings out. Like,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. Chester.
right.
Yeah.
I always forget that he died. I'm like, just get mad all over again. I'm like, how dare you, like, the universe take him away from us?
Yeah. So actually, that brings up Kiana. How do you feel about like because you're my other clinician here? So how do you feel about this game so far in the realm of thinking about it a little more clinically, and just so far its take on trauma?
I mean, the resistance makes sense. That like, oh, I don't want to do this. Is definitely a huge part of working with and working through traumatic trauma. So I feel like in that way, it definitely is true to form, right? And also I think I like again struggled with the coming up with the story. So like the place where it hurts, I think I kept saying that over and over, because that is like, that is a huge part of trauma is obviously pain, right? And so I think, that aspect of things too, right? Having to dig into pain in order to essentially save your own world, right? Is a huge part of the game. And so far we're scratching the surface, right? So we're just like right at the beginning of our process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I like the way that like the like depending on the makeup of the group and everything, regardless, you still have at least one person who is new to this world,
Mm-hmm.
and like whether the event happened long ago and just something new brought it up, or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's something new. I like the take of trauma that allows for both acute and complex in this game,
Mm-hmm.
and how it still treats it as, kind of important. And in all honesty, I think part of it being so intense and so quick simulates the urgency people tend to feel when they do start doing trauma work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel that freeze. That's a very natural freeze of like, go deeper. I'm not even sure how, like,
Yeah.
and in or out of character. Like I feel and felt so paused by the whole idea of digging deeper than I've already gone.
Yeah. Which is a good simulation of what what shouldn't happen in therapy. Right. Is like, if this was a therapy session, like, we absolutely would have stopped at the "who the fuck are you in my house" moment, right? Like, that would have been
Get out.
Would have been a like.
There's been no safety.
Okay, let's sit with it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and I definitely unintentionally and maybe a little unconsciously, I feel like a part of Saphira's role too is the like the internal you, right? That like is still struggling with the trauma, right? It's like, yeah, it's angry, it's carrying rage, even externally, which is why I was trying to get in your head, Vita, because it's like externally you're like, oh, everything's fine, everything's cool, but internally you're like, this bitch is late, and right? You're like going back and forth.
Oh man, Saphira's the anger translator.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Saphira was like, cuss her out.
Right.
Cuss her out. She was late. You know that's not how you really feel. Dog her out.
Exactly.
I'm just like, please leave me alone. I'm trying to do it.
Exactly.
And the ways Saphira kind of reminds me of the ways that y'all spoke to this earlier, but like the Saphira kind of reminds me of like an internal narrative that I feel like people go through when addressing their trauma, is like that urge to have to like get to it.
Yeah.
Like my therapist has to constantly remind me that like we could spend a month on this one topic.
Right.
If we really wanted to. But like Saphira's not like that.
Nah. No. And I mean, still trying to find that balance, but yeah, definitely not like that. Like, let's go.
Saphira has a grant proposal due. Need that outcome.
Not the grant proposal.
That's really funny.
I am dead.
I also think there's an aspect that like I didn't. So in planning this first session, I didn't know how much to plan, all this stuff. I didn't know what would happen. And so like I also kind of like that you went to work anyway. And that feeling of, well, fuck, I gotta keep going anyway. Like I still need to even in game, I was like, are you gonna pay my rent? Because I have to do this. And I think especially for Black folks, that is so real. And this idea of trying to heal all of these traumas that we are both born with and then exposed to.
Oof, say that.
And still going and like having to pay rent, having to take care of kids, having to, go to school or whatever it is, having to run multiple things all the time is so real. And that's something that I really wasn't expecting to like happen immediately. But you're like, because I kind of expected you to call in. I was like, you're late. You were just like, well, this is gonna have to wait. Like, the world's ending. You know what? My world is being able to pay my rent. We're gonna go. So real.
So real.
Yo, I didn't even think about that until just now. I didn't think about that at all.
Yeah, neither did I. I was like, oh, of course you're going to work. That makes perfect sense to me. Why would you take time off?
Absolutely, I'm going to work. Because who's going to believe that there's a demon chilling in my bedroom with eyes for a back?
Right.
Exactly. Like,
which is like a haunting image, by the way. Very well done.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I have that thing where like the Google, like if there's too many googly eyes around. Or like if like too many bees in that honeycomb structure or whatever, it just like
Yeah, absolutely. I know what you're talking about. That
I'm just imagining this towering figure, and then as soon as it bends, you just see eyes moving in individual directions, just like some of them staring at you, some of them just looking around your house, like, That's why I was like, I need my knife, I have to kill you.
Yeah, because it's the description is down her back is a row of eyeballs. They open whenever they perceive danger, real or imagined.
Oh.
And there's always real or imagined danger.
Uh-huh.
Especially when you're trying to create it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that piece about the still having to go to work, I almost like I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I almost like went along with it too quickly. I was like, wait, maybe I should like put up a fight here, but no, I totally was like, yeah, that makes sense. Which is like, I'm so glad you pointed that out, Cassie.
Yeah, well, especially because like for me, right, is it that felt like a parallel between the like privilege conversations, right, of like who does and doesn't get to fall apart, right? And so in that moment, it felt like, like Saphira in a way was like a white person who was like, no, take the day off. What are you doing? Why are you here? Just leave work. And I is like, bruh, it doesn't work that way for me. What are you doing?
Right.
You're like a whole different, I don't even know what kind of world you live in, but in this world, we keep it going. And that is a conversation.
Is it? Yep.
That is so common.
I literally had no concept of that when I was doing that. I was just like, this is it's as soon as you were like, she's late for work, I'm like, fuck. That's the only thing I could think of.
Panic. Mm-hmm.
It's like, shit, I'm late for work. I'm sorry, demon. with your jagged teeth.
Right.
And your talk of demons stronger and bigger and more dangerous than you. None of that matters to me right now. I'm 30 minutes late for work.
Right.
The biggest demon is this manager.
Literal,
right, yeah.
Oh my god, Marty almost got punched today.
Marty definitely almost got punched.
Yeah.
Yeah. That brings us to Jay.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to talk more about Imani and the and the anxiety and the phobia that was happening with Imani. So can you say more about what was exactly kind of letting people know what was going on with Imani, and then Kiana and I, if we need to jump in with like specific symptoms and things that we can pull apart, so people, if they're being like, oh man, Imani sounds like me, then they can better understand their experience.
Yeah, in regards to like Imani, I would say like I feel like every character that I create to some degree is always like a little bit of a mix of like me, but some things are just really amped up. In regards to probably like her anxiety, I feel that her anxiety comes from a place of not being able to truly like interact with the world because she feels like she missed, like there is like some sort of thing that she missed in life that everybody else seemed to get, but also just the general fear of just like interacting with people, and not really kind of it's both not really getting all like what's going on in regards to like trying to be like a sociable person, but also just, not really liking kind of the song and dance of society, and also just not really trusting people in general. I kind of placed their backstory as being like, as time went on through like the pandemic and all like kind of the recovery periods, she never really got over the person that she was like trapped inside pretty much. So that's why she's still trapped inside now, like inside her own head as well as inside of her own like dwelling, to be honest. So it's something that like, you know, she's okay enough now to go outside and interact with people, but there's still kind of this lingering thought of like, I just want to go home. Like, home's where I'm safe and where all my stuff is. And so it's kind of a combination of like those ideas for me, at least in regards to how I feel about her.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. Yeah, a thing that I'm excited about to see how it plays and weaves into this story is the like, how are folks dealing post-pandemic? And I think what you're naming is definitely like something that I know, like in my clinical mind, I'm like, yeah, we're really gonna have to start paying attention to. We already have to, but right, like as
Yeah.
things are feeling like they're over for some folks, at least, right? What is the impact on? Yeah, obviously mental health, but like specifically the interaction with the world and how that like alienates and is going to likely alienate folks who already felt alienated and isolated even further.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So yeah.
I was reading this morning like the extremes, right? Like Imani's on one side, but like for instance, I was reading in the news in the real world, like Miami Beach just had to declare a state of emergency because of the number of people crowded up for spring break.
Yeah, I saw that,
Yep.
and the photo that it was with it was ridiculous. I was just like, why are
you
this many people
serious?
outside trying to have fun? It's like, girl, you're gonna get sick. Go
You're
home.
shitting me right now, right?
No, not at
Yeah.
Of
all.
course not.
And yeah, and it's just like there's no way all those people are vaccinated and they're
No.
full
Hell no,
2 shots
there's no way they're vaccinated.
and 2 ways post, right? And so then and so like that's this whole thing of like this pandemic and the way that it plays into the game, because for everyone listening, the reason we said it post pandemic was because we wanted to have the ability to have clubs and dances and parties and stuff, and as you can tell, we're in the lead up, like the 12th day of this campaign is Halloween. And so we wanted to be able to have crowds and have that kind of threat, but we also wanted to honor what we're all going through right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that piece is why like I felt it was really important to be like, is Imani a person who still wears a mask? And you know what, and I do think that that'll come up, especially like even now as this campaign is taking place, like you know, a solid like year or two or so, however long the recovery takes, like, you know, businesses are back up and running, lounges are doing well enough to be, you know, expecting full houses and all that kind of stuff. But like, what does that do even, for instance, like, I'm wondering how Imani is feeling about going to a beach.
Not feeling the best. Not excited. Not excited.
I was catching
During
those
the
hints
day.
to go at night.
Uh-huh.
It's like,
Yeah.
we should go at night.
Yeah,
There's
because
no one around.
the crowds are going to. It's going to be an ordeal, to say the least, for her, and that's not the best. But
Well,
yeah.
Hey, rack up those XP early,
Yeah, I guess so.
because that'll be a fear test.
Oh. Nothing. I was hearing what you were saying about that being a fear test.
Taking Imani to a beach, absolutely,
I'm
is a
sure,
fear
of course.
test.
Yeah,
Huge.
full of people.
You might as well just toss her like right in the middle of like United Center during a Bulls game. Like,
Oh. I'll tell
Pretty
you
much.
what. United Center's packed right now
that doesn't surprise me.
because they're vaccinating everyone there.
Oh,
for good reason. For good reason.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I was supposed to be like, what?
No, they're vaccinating everyone there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about that, also really like about this system, and we'll keep talking about these points as we go through, but I like that in the book when it talks about fear tests and things, it specifically denotes that you can require a fear test even if the thing isn't happening directly to that person.
Oh.
And so it incorporates like vicarious and like bystander like trauma and fear and stuff into it. So like whenever I messaged Witch and Craft Games, I was like, did you guys, like, I love this. Did you do this? Did you talk with clinicians? Like, how did you get so much so right about this game?
Right.
But yeah, no. So that's also something that'll be fun, is if you happen upon, you know, something fucked up in the course of the game, that can also trigger a fear test. It does not only have to be the stuff happening to you.
Wow.
The thing that too, like, that stood out to me about you, Amani, is that like you've been through this before, so I'm like really, really interested, or like maybe not at this intense level where the world's about to end, but like the fact that Imani has like her own demons and has like moved through them. It's yeah, I'm really interested to see how that like plays, and even in like the fear test. I mean, obviously I know it's based on a role to some degree, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And
too.
does that demon see everything that's going on and then decide that it wants a stake in this?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that through, because it would make sense for that demon to like try and do that, because obviously like it would kind of crux upon, I guess, like thinking about the whole thing, the whole kind of, I guess, break for her was sort of trying to reincorporate back in society and essentially failing miserably. And that was kind of the essentially the trigger point for her. And the kind of working through that demon where it was like, you know, essentially consistently telling her that like this wasn't going to work, or like this is a failure point, but it's also like trying to work out that like, no, I can get back out there somehow, like even if it's not like to the fullest of my abilities, I can't be trapped inside forever, even though that's what I ultimately want to be. So it's sort of a tightrope walk, really.
Yeah, and I think Imani to me is really interesting as we're kind of fleshing this out, and I definitely want to talk to you more, Jay, because also that idea of like Aya is being forced to actually actively face all at once her demons, whereas Imani currently, based on what you described, is at a point of very much like barely coping. And so the demon's still somewhere. It's just being kept at bay. And that, anyone that knows me knows that like the difference between coping and healing is a big thing for me. And so I feel the juxtaposition of Aya and Imani in and their trauma is, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get into this.
Does Saphira ever try to leverage that against the two of them, you know? Is the question that comes to mind.
I mean, I will say, I think one of my my origin is definitely a manipulative one. And so possibly.
Also, does this mean that Saphira is one of my bound demons?
Yes. So, with that, I want to respect everybody's time. Unfortunately, Saphira, you didn't get any XP, no failed tests. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Go back through, name any screen names, where people can find you if you want to be found, and anything else that you happen to be working on. So let's have our target go first. Vita.
Hi, this is Vita again. They pronouns. Um, I'm currently working on some music right now. If you want to know more about where that's gonna be, you can follow me on my Instagram. That is Vitae, Vitae, 1989, 2015. Birth year and rebirth year, in case anybody's curious about the dates. But yeah, so you could find me on IG. I'll be talking about music there. And maybe some poetry coming up soon. So stay posted.
Awesome. Jay.
Hey, I don't really, I'm not really on a whole lot anymore. In regards to posting, yeah, I don't really like to be found, so I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Very valid. Kiana.
Yeah, Kiana. I did want to mention I'm a Scorpio because Jay, you said you're Aquarius, and I felt like I have to drop the astrological sign.
Of course.
So, um, but yeah, not so much. So I don't want to be found on social media. But as a therapist, I am in the middle of still building up my own practice, my own private practice. So stay tuned for that. It's actually probably gonna start to actually be a thing as we continue to play. So once that feels a little bit more solid, I might send folks my like professional email if they're looking for a therapist. So
I am Cassie, Woke Mental Wellness, at Mental Woke on Twitter. My practice is Intersection Center for Complex Healing. It's that on Facebook. I'm trying to dabble in Instagram, but I also am trying not to be on social media a lot. So the Intersections social media, like the Intersections LLC social media is super sparse, but I'm going to be throwing up the wonderful graphics that Jack did for us for this. So maybe there'll be more on Insta. Also, support the podcast on Patreon, Woke Mental Wellness, as we continue to do playthroughs. If y'all support us, we can get more equipment. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll actually release videos. If people are okay with that, we'll see. But that would take a lot of support. So, yeah, I don't currently have any openings for clients. Am taking a couple supervisees on possibly, and doing a little consulting. But yeah, I'm an Aries, so I do too much. I do too much and I'll fight.
To be honest, you being an Aries does not surprise me at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the least surprising thing ever. So yeah, Vita, you're the only person that hasn't done astrological signs, so.
Yeah, I'm an Aquarius.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah. I got a lot of Capricorn and Taurus in my chart, so that's probably why I'm like.
I'm heavy on the Capricorn and Cancer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. The feelings.
Yeah, to say the least.
All of the feelings.
I think I'm like Aries, Taurus, and Virgo, if I remember properly. I can't remember.
Wow, yeah.
Wow, that track.
Yeah. That's
I didn't even have to. I don't know. We'll find out. So, come listen to our next set of episodes to find out whether or not I have accurately remembered my astrological signs. But
also, Cassie, like shout out to you for your like just game mastering. Like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
yeah,
totally.
for sure.
Thank you. But yeah, so the way this will work is each session's going to be split up to 3 or 4 episodes.
Okay.
So that's the way it'll come out. So you'll have an entire month of content is going to be one session. So that's how we're doing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's how
okay.
we're doing this. And
that's cool.
so keep coming back. And on the Patreon for patrons, there will also be the full session audio straight through.
Oh,
Once, and for spoiler purposes, that'll be available on the day that the final debrief session comes out each month.
okay.
So, yeah. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Windy City Demons, a woke mental wellness actual play of 12 Inner Demons. This has been episode 4, our discussion of our past 3 episodes. If you want to connect with us, you can find our contact information in the episode notes. If you want to learn more or to support our podcast, you can join our Patreon. We can also be found on most major podcasting platforms, and videos are also uploaded to YouTube. Our Patreons get episodes 1 day early on Fridays. Otherwise, we tend to release on Saturdays. So don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave reviews and messages if you liked our content. Thank you for listening, and take care of yourselves until next time.